This is what it's like to be chosen by the spirits. Now, disclaimer here, I can't speak for anyone else's lineages and practices. People might express this in different ways throughout the shamanic world. Now, I wanted to take some time to share with you my first encounters that let me know that there might be a spiritual or shamanic path ahead of me. This started years ago. I was early on in my relationship with the mushrooms, and I was also early on in the relationship with the dark magician, who I've talked about in other videos. You can go to my page and find that entire saga. And I wanted to have my first solo plant medicine journey with mushrooms. And my goal in that journey was to actually begin to separate from that dark magician before I had fully known the extent of what was going on. And at the peak of it, I'm sitting in my living room and I can see sacred geometry everywhere. I can feel something approach me. And this isn't normal for just a psychedelic experience. It felt alive. And I very quickly realized that there was a black jaguar right next to me. Now, I have no affinity with cats or large cats. I also, at that time, had no background in Mesoamerican, South American, Latin American cosmologies at all. So I was a little bit surprised that there was a jaguar next to me. And this jaguar told me that I was going through an initiation, that this was an initiation. Then the jaguar said, "What do you think it would be like to be me?" And before I could answer, it had jumped into me. It had merged with me, and my vision changed. My surroundings turned into a jungle. I could feel myself move. I was on all fours, but it didn't feel like I was on all human fours, and I was kind of prowling through the shadows. And it wasn't scary. It was actually a very loving experience. It felt a little bit like a type of homecoming. That lasted for a little while, and then the jaguar stepped out and disappeared. Over the next several years, when I was enmeshed with the really toxic magical situation, from time to time, that black jaguar would return. Sometimes to just stand beside me, sometimes to watch over the medicine work. And towards the end of my path with that dark shaman, I was in ceremony again, and that jaguar offered to jump into me again. And I actually hesitated and said, "No, not in this space." I think at some level I understood that that space wasn't sacred. It wasn't safe to have that type of communion. Fast forward, and it was 2 years after that, and I'm doing the cleanup from the dark magic. I'm doing soul retrievals for myself and rituals to establish my sovereignty. And there was one fragment left that I needed to retrieve, and I went into the dream world to do it. And when I went into this dream, again, I encountered the black jaguar, and this time she was large and had this beautiful black iridescent fur. And she walked beside me, and this is the one and only time I have ever encountered her in the dream world. So a few days later, I asked my teacher, my Paco, my healing teacher in the Andean Cosmovision. And he very seriously listened to my recounting of these encounters and explained that people on the shamanic path are given animals. Often they're given white animals. White is the alignment with the divine masculine, with the solar, with the summer. I received a black animal. That's feminine, that's the goddess. Whenever these animals, especially something like a jaguar, appears, it is a revelation type experience. However, when a jaguar jumps into someone, that is initiation. That is the initiation into carrying the medicine of that particular animal. That is initiation into being a medicine woman in alliance with that particular animal. And when he explained this, I could no longer explain away the experience as maybe just archetypal, because now I had lineage recognition. And it made me really closely consider, what does it mean to carry jaguar medicine? Well, the jaguar is the guardian of liminal spaces. She's in the middle world, but she can walk through shadow. She can guide through shadow, and she's not consumed by it. When I looked back on the entirety of what I went through with the dark magic, which I do consider to be my shaman sickness, that entire pathway fits. And I can't explain why this particular animal or archetype appeared to me all those years ago in ceremony and has stayed with me as a very real living entity, except for this was initiation. So that's it for today. For more, like and follow.